Here's a bold question for all of you founders, CEOs, and business strategists. What if your employer brand isn't just about hiring? It's actually the missing half of your business strategy. This episode is going to flip your thinking, because if your strategy is struggling to stick, if your people are not aligned, and if your leadership vision feels like it's not quite landing there, you're not alone. Most businesses suffer from a silent disconnect between strategy and culture. And that is where story-driven employer branding comes in, not as HR fluff, but as your new strategic powerhouse. Hello, my friend, and welcome back to the Story-Driven Business Podcast, where we decode what it really takes to build a magnetic business from inside and out. I'm your host, Susanna Rantanen, known as the world's leading modern employer branding expert and strategist, and your personal guide to story-driven leadership and branding. In today's episode, I'll take you on a walk to the park where business strategy, company culture, and employee experiences become united, making why you do business and what value you generate internally and externally totally transparent to your people and customers. The methodology that I will talk about is the one that I started to build already back in 2015 and wrote a book about it after 10 years of testing, iterating, and foolproofing it. It is a story-driven methodology called the Magnetic Employer Branding Method, and it applies the science of persuasion and the science of story. So no fluff here. This is scientifically backed up methodology. And it bridges the gap between your people and your mission to inspire and empower your current and future employees, deliver your customer promise just the way you want them to. And I'll explain to you how aligning strategic company culture, employee experiences, and communication with storytelling transforms your employer brand into a scalable business asset. If you're ready to stop shouting your strategy and start living it, this one is for you. We're going to start with a strategic company culture. This is the operating system of success. Now, culture is the personality of your organization. It is the how of everything that your organization should be doing. So it's it's a reflection of the ideal organizational behavior, to be honest. Now, what is a strategy without a defined culture? I mean, it's going to be powerless because it's missing that operating system of success. What we need is a strategic company culture. This is where leadership style, organizational behavior, and communication all line up to push your business goals forward. Most companies tend to have culture by accident. What if your culture was actually by design, and not just any design, but by strategic design? When your culture matches your strategy, execution stops being chaos and becomes a natural momentum, a natural way of how we do things here. You don't need to motivate your people because they know what success looks like and how to contribute to it daily. And because through your story-driven employer brand messages and marketing, your hires all know about this too and become productive employees faster after starting their employment in your company. And for the same reason, your story-driven employer branding clarifies you are not the right option for those who cannot relate with your goals, your KPIs, your ways of work, your customer promise, your mission, your values, helping you to make your hiring more efficient and resulting in less hiring mistakes. That is how powerful defining and turning your strategic culture into employer brand operating system will be. In my book, Story-Driven Employer Branding, I explain the 4 archetypes of strategic culture, and those are directly linked to the 4 most popular business strategies in the entire world. The first culture archetype is the collaborative specialist culture. This is linked to specialization strategy requiring advanced expertise. You can define it as a close-knit family-like atmosphere where trust, mentoring, and collaboration are prioritized, and it is ideal for nurturing employee loyalty and development. Then we have the innovation agile culture, which is linked to innovation strategy, aiming to challenge existing market norms and practices. This is focused on innovation, agility, and risk-taking, perfect for startups and scale-ups aiming to disrupt markets or foster creativity. The results-driven competitive culture is linked to competition and market strategy with the aim to dominate or secure a leading market position driven by profitability, loyal customers, and a strong brand. This is targeted on results, competition, and measurable achievements, often suits companies with aggressive growth goals or high sales focus. And the fourth one is the process-oriented control culture that is linked to the efficiency optimization strategy, striving to deliver services and products with maximized cost efficiency. Structured, process-driven, and stability-focused cultures are crucial for industries where precision and predictability are non-negotiable. A typical business is a combination of one or more of these strategy and culture combos. But what is key is to recognize who you are as a business and how near or far the ideal culture type is to your default culture. Incorporating strategic culture along with your mission, purpose, values, and beliefs with your employer brand enables creating this environment where your employees, your middle managers, your leaders, and teams can thrive, even in the face of change. And what you need is clarity on your dominant culture type, or you'll confuse your people, and confused people don't execute very well. We know that. And I actually have this light self-assessment worksheet on this free PDF explaining strategic company cultures. If you're interested to test it out, I'll add that link on the show notes page that you can find on modernemployerbrand.com/podcast194. Or you can ask for the link from me on LinkedIn or Instagram directly. That's okay. I'm happy to send it over. The next one is employee experiences that I want to talk to you because they are the proof in your employer brand pudding. Exactly the same as your customer experiences are to your sales success. An employer brand without great employee experiences is really just a pretty facade. It's not believable. So this part is really going to flip the mindset. Think of your culture as the blueprint for your organizational behavior, and your employee experiences are kind of like your product reviews. If your people don't feel what your brand says, that they really feel it, trust me, the market will find out. This is specifically true in this age of Glassdoor and LinkedIn brands. Your current and former employees and candidate experiences are the proof of your desired brand vision. If your audiences cannot agree with your brand vision and tales, you create a lot of mistrust and your audience stops believing you. On the other hand, when your people feel proud and seen and purposeful delivering your strategy, they become your marketing, your talent magnet, the retention machine, and customer success generator. But if they don't, no employer brand campaign can save you. Then I'm going to talk to you about the master plan. This is the strategic clarity before creating any sorts of messages, any source of content, internally or externally. This is where we really make everything strategic so that we can define what success should look like, what we should focus on, and what we say no to, so that any investment that you as a business leader will make towards employer branding is going to be clearly returning on that investment. The master plan includes a transformative employer branding mission statement. This is not overlapping with your business mission statement, and this is not a public mission statement either. This is the mission statement for the employer branding team, so that they are constantly focused on the vision and the mission of this employer branding work, so that they can actually tune out from the idea that employer branding is just a campaign, and their actions and activities actually become a transformation process from where you are now in terms of your appeal as an employer to where you want to be and where you need to be as a business in terms of your employer brand attractiveness. It includes the strategic goals and KPIs, clearly defined and segmented talent audiences, the target segments for employer branding work. And this is where we look at not just who you're hiring today, and this is also where we tie very specifically with your business strategy, because we are not going to look at tomorrow. We're going to look at what's waiting ahead and what should we achieve in a year's time, in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years time, so that we can actually ramp it up towards the business success in the coming years. Then it includes the modern work to life promise, which is my improved version from the traditional employee value propositions, which are really outdated and not so functionable and value delivering anymore. And then it includes the desired perceptions and key story themes and the story pillars. And when you have this master plan, you're no longer guessing what to do, what to say, when to say, what kind of messages to communicate, or what kind of content, marketing content or communications content to create. Everything is clearly set out so that it turns all this work into very efficient process. So basically, we're designing a full funnel marketing strategy that emotionally, intellectually, and aspirationally connects your people to your business mission and goals. Now we have the strategy that is connected very closely to what you want to achieve as a business. Then we need the actual communications engine. This is what I call the talent journey. The talent journey of the information era is the framework for the actionable communication process. What is a strategy unless we execute it? And the talent journey helps us to execute it in the right way. This is the heart of that execution. Think of it as your buyer's journey, but for the talent, and not just externally, but also internally, because retention is equally important for you as a business leader as is a talent attraction. The talent journey has 4 phases that are directly connected to your employer brand strategic goals, objectives, and KPIs. The first phase is winning sustainable attention. The second one is growing employer awareness and expanding your organic audience. The third one is building brand affinity, and the fourth is converting brand value to the business. This is the ROI part, the return on investment. When we use this talent journey framework as the actual communication process, it reminds your communication, marketing, employer branding people all the time that they should not just be posting something, but their goal is actually to deliver value investment that your business has made for this work. So when you turn your employer branding actions into a communication process and relevant weekly routines, you stop your people from publishing all sorts of random acts of messages and content, and you inspire them to craft messages that serve the right purpose in the right phase. And what makes this different is that this journey process is also moving your audience forward on this same journey with your company, not pushing out random content with no purpose, meaning, or relevance to them, and actually tackling their pain points, desires, and needs in a way of tying them and connecting them with your business. Your people are going to know exactly what to say yes to and what to say no to, what to focus on, and making sure that your employer branding strategy gets executed and you know what kind of return on investment you can expect. And these key story teams within the strategy are endless sources of content ideas for your people. So they don't have to keep wondering, what are we supposed to say or do? It's a very thought through process and system. Then I want to talk to you about the return on investment and business impact, because this is especially what you as CEOs should care about. I think that the real power of employer branding goes way beyond receiving applications. So most leaders, of course, want to know what is their expected return on investment from employer branding. But I've worked with hundreds of companies and hardly anyone is able to produce any other answer than more applications from better quality applicants. Is that enough for you? I don't think so, because there's so much more potential in story-driven employer branding, business potential. If you're only measuring your return on employer branding investment by the number of job applications, you are missing the big picture. With this methodology, return on investment can mean multitude of things depending on your business strategy and what kind of leverage it can benefit from employer branding. Some examples are lower turnover and time to hire, which is clearly directly affecting your bottom line. Faster productivity leap for new employees because they know about your business, your culture, your values, your custom promise, your ways of work way before they even consider applying for your company. Greater internal alignment to cultural expectations and expected organizational behavior, which means that it's so much more efficient and less painful to lead your people because they are internally driven to match the way that you work. Higher engagement to delivering goals, smoother transition during mergers and acquisitions or other significant business transformations, and also improved customer experience, customer satisfaction, sales impact, and competitive advantage on the market, not just from employer branding perspective, but even also as a business. So you can see that the big picture is much wider than applications to occasional recruitment campaign. When your people are aligned, confident, and storytelling with purpose, customers can feel it too. And that is how your entire brand becomes contagious. If you want to transform your company into a magnetic employer that powers your strategy, not just your hiring, this methodology is your go-to blueprint. Listen, I've only scratched the surface in this less than a half an hour episode. When I read this entire book, it made 7 hours and 9 minutes of audio. So the full methodology, the templates, the frameworks, they're all in this book. And trust me, once you read it, you'll wonder why you ever treated employer branding as a recruitment campaign. So I want you to go to storydrivenemployerbrand.com to grab your copy of Story-Driven Employer Branding to learn more. Link is in the show notes page for this podcast at modernemployerbrand.com/podcast194. And you can also subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast player for more storytelling strategies for business leaders. If you love this episode, please share it with your fellow leaders to lead with story. Thanks for listening to Story-Driven Business Podcast. My name is Susanna Rantanen, and I bring you story-driven branding in a world where attention is no longer default. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and stay story-driven.